She's the friend who'll show up with coffee or wine when you need it most. But probably wine. Good vibes are on the way. Welcome to Erin O'Malley's Feel Good Frequency.
Oh, hi. I'm Erin, and thank you so much for being here. I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of who I am and why I'm doing this. Have you ever had this gut feeling that you have to do something, even if you are clueless about it, but it's bugging you and you've got to go on this path? Enter me here. Never done video before, learning myself, kind of figuring out what everything is. So if it sucks right now, there's a reason, but it's going to get better. See, that's the best part. We're at ground level. It's only up from here. So the only other time in my life I have had this gut feeling that I had to do something job-wise, career-wise, was when I was 12. And I decided I was going to be a radio DJ because how cool to get paid to talk and to play music. So that's what I did. I actually told my mom, and I still remember this conversation, that I wanted to be a DJ. And her immediate reaction, which was a good one, was, well, why don't you do something with more of a path to it? Like be a teacher or a nurse. Because, of course, my mom was a nurse. My aunt was a nurse. It's, family thing. I was the first one to break tradition. And she said, there's not really a path for radio. And I'm like, well, I can make my own path. And I remember thinking, God, if my mom doesn't even think I can do this, this might not be for me after all. And maybe 10 minutes later, I hear a knock at my door and it's my mom. And she goes, I've been thinking about it. And why can't you be one of the ones that make it? Like somebody has to make it. So why not you? And man, that was all I needed. And at that point, I'm like, I'm going to be on the radio. And so I started at a really small station in Wheeling, West Virginia, making $11,210 a year. Yes, I remember that first yearly salary. It was massive. Said nobody ever. But I moved from Pittsburgh because I lived in Pittsburgh but worked in Wheeling, so I would just commute. And then I moved to Las Vegas, where I gathered many stories that I will share with you, back to Pittsburgh, to Portland, Oregon, and then to Boston, where I was on the same station for 24 years, which is kind of unheard of in radio anymore. I was super blessed until corporate found out that I'd been there that long, and we're like, no, we need to cut her. No. There was a bunch of layoffs, and I just, unfortunately, was one of them. But pivot, like Ross taught us. And here I am. Because I love telling feel-good stories. That's one of the biggest things I did on the air. I've always been the kind of person that I will find the good in anything. I mean, honestly, I've got some exes that you could look at and be like, wow, you really do look for the good, even when it's very hard to find. But that's just always been who I am. And I found out along the way that I was getting people through their days and cheering them up with my little happy stories. And now I just don't have to cram them into 30 or 60 seconds. I can just kind of take my time and introduce you to people. And that's not a bad thing. And I don't care what the FCC says anymore either, which is also awesome. Oh, by the way, who wants a mimosa? Because I feel like that's a good way to start the show. We're going to celebrate a little bit. All right, so while I'm making this, I will tell you that recently I went to visit my best friend from college. Her youngest is my goddaughter, and she just graduated from high school last year. And I was talking to her older child, and he asked me, like, hey, where you been? Because it's been a minute since I really hung out there. And I was explaining just different things that have happened to me in the last 20 or so years. And I mean, I have a lot of stories. And put it this way, as I was explaining said stories, I forgot to mention this. He goes, didn't you have cancer? I go, oh yeah, that's right. I had breast cancer too. Now, if you forget to mention that one of the things you've been going through is cancer, chances are you have some stories to tell. So that is another reason why I'm here. This should probably be grain alcohol if I'm going to be telling you stories like that, but I digress. Something I realized when I was diagnosed with breast cancer was that I didn't have a must-do bucket list. I didn't have one, and I realized it was because I've lived my life as the bucket list, and I gotta tell you, that's the way to do it. I learned to scuba dive. I went on vacation by myself years ago to the Bahamas. I met my favorite bands. Shout out Dave Matthews. Ran marathons. And I don't know, maybe you found me here because you need somebody to tell you this. Stop putting off the happy. Stop. Life is way too short, and people say that all the time. But once you're actually looking at what might be the end of it, you really understand how short it can be. I am the queen of procrastination, honestly. But I just feel like happy can't wait. Start taking even small steps toward what is going to make you happy. Get that degree you've been putting off, or take a painting class, learn how to ski, or play the drums. We are not meant to sit in a cubicle for 8 hours a day doing something completely miserable. Your job will replace you before you've even put the keys in the ignition in your car in the parking lot. Sorry to say, but it is true. It took me losing my childhood best friend to finally get my butt in radio. I graduated from college, was a lifeguard at a wave pool, and then you ready for this? I worked for Together Dating Service. Oh yes, kids, before the apps existed. I was a salesperson for Together Dating Service. Okay. So my best friend Allison was diagnosed with lupus when we were sophomores in college, and unfortunately, it just got worse and worse for her. And at one point, she had to have, I want to say, 3 major surgeries in 2 days: gallbladder, spleen, and appendix. And I went to visit her. She was supposed to be home on Sunday, and it was Thursday. I'll never forget this. And I went to see her in the surgical ICU. It was late, too. And she's like, "Oh," she always called me O for O'Malley. She's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're here. What are you doing here?" And I was like, I don't know, Al. I know you're going to be home in a couple days, but I just had to come say hi again and see you." And like out of nowhere, she goes, "Why aren't you in radio?" What are you talking about? I mean, she's in pain from all these surgeries, and what do they have you on that you even care right now if I'm in radio? And she's like, "No, that's all you've wanted to do since we were kids. What are you doing?" And I go, it just hit me why I wasn't doing it. And I said, what if I suck? It's all I've wanted to do since we were kids. And if I'm no good, like, I don't even know what road I'd take. And she goes, "What if you're 40 with 3 kids and you never tried? You will hate yourself. Besides, you're not going to fail. You're going to be great." And she died the day she was supposed to be released from the hospital, that Sunday. And wow, it was the shock of my life. But after about a month of just being shocked and grieving, I just up and quit that job. And I remember the sales manager was like, "You're never going to find another job making $30,000 again." I was like, "Yeah, watch me." And I went to Wheeling and I made $11,210 a year. But it didn't stay like that, because I'm a big believer that if you do something you're passionate about, the money will get there eventually. And that's what I'm telling my husband, because I have no idea how or if I make money from this. But right now, that's not my priority. My priority is to give you something to smile about, because I feel like we all really need that right now, more than maybe ever. So that's what I'm here to do. Make you smile. I moved from Pittsburgh to Vegas, broke as a joke. In Vegas, I'm here to tell you, I ate around the mold and the bread, but I had a smile on my face. A smile so big that my program director actually had to sit me down and tell me that I was too happy at my job. Imagine that. too happy at your job. So it was an alternative station still there. Shout out X1075. At that point, it was called Extreme Radio, X1075. And I was on after Howard Stern every day. I mean, impossible to get bad ratings when you're on after Howard Stern every day. God bless Howard. And I loved that position. I absolutely loved it. I loved the job. Vegas nearly killed me because, holy moly, everybody is addicted to something. And it's meant to be a fun getaway for adults. Now, this is just my opinion. If you live in Vegas and you love Vegas, I'm so happy for you. But, wasn't necessarily for me. I like visiting Vegas. But again, it's like dog years there. You're there for a weekend. It feels like a week. So I lived there a year and a half. It aged me about 10. Grateful for the experience, but it aged me about 10. Anyway, this program director sits me down because the Extreme Radio, as the title suggests, did not play Barry Manilow. We played Metallica and Beastie Boys and Rage Against the Machine and things like that, and Nirvana and Foo Fighters, etc. So he sat me down and he said, "Look, I love that you really like your job, but I need you to not be happy, like at least not this happy, because our core band's lead singer blew his head off with a shotgun, and I need you to just, kind of think about that when you're on the air. So, sorry, Kurt Cobain, I still think of you every year on your birthday, because if it wasn't for you and alternative music, I probably would have never gotten to Vegas. But anyway, that is one of the things that made me laugh about being there, is that I had to actually be less happy. I also went to Vegas sight unseen. I had never been to Vegas in my life before moving there. So that was quite a culture shock, let me tell you. So I understand it's easy for me to say life is short, don't settle. And while I believe that, I also understand that we have these things called responsibilities, like adulting. It can suck. I get that. But just maybe try to find little ways to make yourself happy. Find ways to enhance the happy. Remember what brought you joy in younger years and try to get that back into your life again. I am happiest when I'm helping other people, when I make somebody smile or even laugh. That is the goal for me here. I'm going to be talking to people who are making the world a better place, people maybe you've heard of, and people that you should definitely know. Like this guy who jumped in the water for a total stranger to recover what he thought was just an iPad, but ended up being so much more.
It's time for the Shining Bright Spotlight on Erin O'Malley's Feel Good Frequency.
Holy shit.
Wow.
What a great guy.
That is not easy.
Wow.
Bernard Christie, I saw you on the news this morning, and you are quite the hero in Gloucester, I tell ya.
So it's been quite a frantic 3-4 days for me with all of the publicity going around Gloucester. It's been shared on I think 3 different Gloucester pages. My friends and family have seen it, and then the news contacted me yesterday morning while I was at work, so I had to do that news interview. I did it yesterday right after work, so it's been a weekend.
Absolutely love that so much attention has been called to this, because you didn't think it was any kind of a big
not at
deal,
all.
and as somebody that is a mom of a kiddo who is nonverbal, that computer that you saved that went in the water, it's so expensive. But even more than that, if you lose it or if you break it, it takes a long time to get that back in the hands of the kiddo that needs it so badly. So can you just kind of tell us a quick synopsis of what happened?
So my wife, myself, and our 6-month-old son were taking a stroll down the boulevard in Gloucester. We had just come from the park, and we had ice cream. So we were like, let's walk off some of this sweet stuff. So we're taking a stroll. We walked to one end, we were walking back, and all of a sudden I hear someone yell out, "Oh no!" So it was like someone definitely, dropped a phone, dropped something over into the water. And as we're getting closer, I look over and I see just a tablet that's just floating in the water. And I look over to her and I'm like, tell me I don't need to jump into the water right now. So she looks at me and she's like, I support any decision that you make. If you're going in, I support that wholeheartedly. So we walk over to the woman, Kim, and I told her, I'm gonna jump in the water for you. Like, I don't even need to know the story. I'm just, I'm already taking my shoes off. And she tries to tell me, she's like, you don't need to do that. We're gonna call either the harbor master or the police. And I'm like, listen,
It'll be at the
by the
bottom by the
time
time they
someone
get
gets
there.
here, it'll have either washed away, it'll be too far gone, and I didn't even second guess it, and I just started climbing over and then down the wall, and next thing I know, I'm the water's above my head.
God bless you. And you got that. I know it's
You know,
drying out now, but that's such a life-saving device for a kiddo that can't speak. And I just thought it was so awesome and above and beyond that I had to just kind of put you in my shining bright spotlight because you are the kind of person that we all want as a neighbor.
Honestly, just thought it was like a tablet or an iPad. I didn't know until after I had already gotten out of the water that Jaden had used it for communication, that he was nonverbal. So I jumped in there just for an electronic device that was just a couple $100 tablet. I didn't know of its importance, of its, the backstory about Jaden or his mom. And when I came up and I learned the story, it became that much more important. So
exactly. And you know what? That makes it even better because you were just trying to do the right thing and help out. And it ended up being even more important than you could have ever realized. I feel like there are a lot of really good people everywhere, but what we end up hearing about is the negative.
Absolutely.
And so you're the kind of person that I am so
Thank
grateful
you.
to talk to.
Like I said, I thought I was just jumping in for someone's tablet. Turns out it's his voice, and it's resonated with a lot of different people. And I've gone through every video that someone has shared that has on my Facebook page, and I've gone and reacted to every kind comment. And, it just takes a 2-second thing or 2 minutes out of your day to make someone's whole week, whole month, whole life. You know what I mean? So it's something that I want to instill in my son is kindness goes a long way.
Well, I love that. You are doing a great job with the next generation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So reminding you that there are good people like this everywhere. That is what my goal and my job with this podcast is going to be. And God, don't we desperately need that these days? The good. It's so easy to find the bad. All you have to do is turn on TV. You get 23 seconds of a great little clip of a story, maybe at the very end of the news. One day I wish they'd just start with the good. So I'll throw in my stories because God knows I've made enough mistakes to last a lifetime. I am kind of a fun, hot mess that way. I've decided the way to end the podcast is to tell you one of my crazy stories, true stories. And this one is about Marilyn Manson. So I had just gotten my part-time job in Pittsburgh while I was working full-time in Wheeling. And the promotions guy, Brandon, said, hey, do you want to MC the Marilyn Manson show? I was like, sure. It's in Pittsburgh. I'm like, yeah, no problem. He goes, yeah, might want to bring somebody with you. I'm like, why? I don't need to bring anybody. He goes, okay, well, we don't really play Marilyn Manson because at the time we did not. We were an alternative station, but we didn't play Marilyn Manson. And he's like, the cult following that they have, kind of a little scary. So, and I was like, what are you talking about? So I kind of let that go in one ear and out the other. I drive up in the station van, which, cult followers always stoked to see you when you're from the station that doesn't even play the band that you're there to talk about. So I walk in the door and I see a poster on the wall of, well, the scariest sight I had ever seen at that point. And it was a band that was extremely out of the sun. I mean, they really needed just a little bit of vitamin D. And they were all wearing some kind of chain around their necks and other things that shall not be mentioned. But it was pretty terrifying. And I looked closer and saw that the name underneath said band was Marilyn Manson. And I'm like, what in God's green earth have I gotten myself into? I'm standing there in my radio station T-shirt, jeans and penny loafers with pennies in them. Thank you very much. And I realized this is not Shirley Manson from the band Garbage. Who is Marilyn Manson? That Yes. So here I am alone in the van, and I need to now get on stage to introduce this band, which, by the way, I clearly do not fit into the audience at all. I stand out pretty badly. So before I go on stage, the manager comes over to me and says, "Hey, they were just in Philly the other night and they threw glass bottles at the person on stage. So just get in, get out. You're a girl, so they probably won't throw anything at you, but you don't really want to take chances." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, great." So I did the quickest stage introduction you've ever heard in your life. And then I was like, "Okay, please welcome Marilyn Manson." Band comes in. Everybody starts screaming. He takes the microphone and screams, "Spit on me." And I swear to God, like you can hear the entire audience getting ready to spit at him. And they did, to which I dove off of the stage. Oh, but the hell wasn't over yet, because after I had to go to the record signing at the record store with that van. So I'm parking the van in like a hidden area so nobody keys it. And I go, there's 1,000 people in line. And I got to go to the front with the station t-shirt and the penny loafers. And they let me in the front door, which I almost wish they didn't at this point. And so I walk over to Marilyn Manson and I go, "Hey, wow, that was quite a show. Like, how do you keep that kind of energy for the entire thing?" And he looks at me dead on, no expression on his face. And he goes, "Narcotics." Awesome. Okay. So I'm greeting people that are coming in who look at me like I'm absolutely in the wrong place. And you know what? They were right. So after about, 2 hours in this store, it is now like 2:30 in the morning. I want to cry. And finally, somebody gave me something, and I'm looking down at it, and it I swear to you, Church of the Antichrist bake sale. And I looked at the woman and I was like, "Do you put razor blades in the cupcakes? I'm out of here." And I grabbed my purse, because of course I had one of those too, and my penny loafers, and got out of there. And that was my story. So to this day, anytime I hear Marilyn Manson, I'm like, "Oh God, I was in the wrong place at the right time." Marilyn. So best part about this is that it's only going to get better, right? So I would love it if you followed me, maybe told a pal or two, gave me a little thumbs up, subscribe to this podcast, and keep your chin up, my friends. Thanks for being here.